Welcome to another episode of Mastering Cybersecurity, developed by baremetalcyber.com. Let's dive in. Cyber Threat Intelligence, CTI, is curated insight about adversaries and their methods that helps people make better security decisions on time. It matters to beginners because alerts and headlines are only raw signals until someone turns them into explanations that guide action. Good intelligence reduces guesswork, focuses attention, and prevents wasted effort during hectic moments. It explains who might target a system, which techniques they prefer, and what that means for the next practical step. The idea is not magical prediction, but steady reduction of uncertainty through evidence and context. With that frame, the journey here shows how to turn scattered clues into decisions that protect systems and the people who depend on them. CTI is different from data and information because it answers decision questions rather than just reporting facts. Raw logs are data, summarized patterns are information, and intelligence interprets those patterns to say what should be done and when. Executives use intelligence to set priorities. Architects use intelligence to shape designs, and operations teams use intelligence to drive daily actions. A Security Operations Center, SOC, leans on intelligence to tune detections, while Incident Response, IR, uses intelligence to investigate quickly. The common purpose across roles is timely, risk-based decisions that are defensible when reviewed later. Clarity about the user and the decision keeps intelligence concrete rather than abstract. Intelligence is often described at 4 levels that match audiences and horizons. Strategic intelligence supports senior direction over months or quarters with simple narratives about trends and likely impacts, such as a region's ransomware surge affecting insurance costs. Operational intelligence guides program leads over weeks with details about campaigns, sectors, and likely targets, such as a shift toward invoice fraud in small retailers. Tactical intelligence informs defenders over days with adversary tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs, such as preferred initial access and lateral movement choices. Technical intelligence supports tools over hours or minutes with machine-readable items like domains or file hashes tied to current activity. Matching the level to the decision window avoids flooding people with details they cannot act on. Most cybersecurity programs adapt the classic intelligence cycle to keep work purposeful and repeatable. Requirements come first, expressed as clear decision questions like whether a business email compromise threat is rising for a small online shop. Collection gathers relevant telemetry and reports that could answer the question, while processing cleans, deduplicates, and normalizes the material. Analysis interprets the cleaned material using context and tradecraft, then dissemination delivers the story and artifacts to the specific people who will act. Feedback checks whether the decision improved outcomes and whether gaps remain that deserve new questions. Using the same small shop example, each step stays grounded and measurable rather than theoretical. Useful intelligence depends on balanced collection drawn from complementary sources rather than any single feed. Internal logs and endpoint telemetry are highly relevant and timely for your environment, though they demand careful parsing to be trustworthy. Open sources offer broad context at low cost, yet vary widely in depth and accuracy, which means corroboration is important. Dark web monitoring can reveal credential dumps or sale threads, but timelessness and legality must be considered with clear rules. Commercial vendor feeds can be fresh and curated, though they require testing for noise and coverage of your actual stack. Sector sharing groups often bring excellent relevance because peers face similar problems on similar timelines, which increases practical value. Defenders often distinguish atomic indicators from behaviors to avoid brittle defenses. Indicators of compromise, IOCs, are specific, short-lived items such as a domain, hash, or IP address that tools can match quickly. Tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs, capture how an adversary operates, including phishing themes, persistence choices, and movement patterns. The MITRE ATTC framework organizes these behaviors in a shared language that helps teams compare notes without guesswork. Behavior focus ages better because attackers rotate infrastructure while reusing habits under pressure. When a team understands likely techniques, it can design controls that remain useful after the indicators expire. To move intelligence cleanly between people and tools, teams use structured formats and rules. Structured threat information expression, STIX, and Trusted Automated Exchange of Intelligence Information, TAXI, carry rich context between platforms without manual copying. Yet another ridiculous acronym, YARA, lets teams write patterns that identify suspicious files by traits rather than single hashes. Sigma rules describe log patterns in a platform-agnostic way that can be translated for different systems. Simple block lists remain helpful for fast containment, although they work best as temporary measures with expiration. Structured formats keep meaning intact so that a finding in one place becomes a detection or control in another place. Analysis turns raw items into judgment by adding context and carefully testing ideas. Enrichment attaches who-is details, hosting geography, malware family ties, or related case notes so that items can be compared sensibly. Pivoting follows relationships, such as moving from a domain to adjacent domains or from a hash to reports about similar samples. Correlation looks for co-occurrence across time windows to see whether multiple weak clues together form a stronger signal. Confidence scoring communicates how sure the analyst is and why, which helps others choose proportional responses. Analysts watch for confirmation bias and survivorship bias by actively seeking disconfirming evidence before recommending action. Intelligence also sharpens vulnerability and patch decisions by connecting exposure to active threat activity. Teams weigh the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, CVSS, with signals like exploit availability, criminal chatter, and observed scanning in their region. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, known Exploited Vulnerabilities, KEV, catalog highlights items where exploitation is confirmed in the wild. A small software-as-a-service provider might delay a medium-score issue with no exploitation while accelerating remediation for a lower-score flaw under active attack. The method ties engineering effort to credible probability rather than abstract severity alone. Decisions made this way are easier to explain and defend during post-incident reviews. Choosing outside intelligence suppliers benefits from a simple, outcome-oriented trial plan. Start by mapping your technology stack and business workflows to the coverage each feed claims to provide, noting gaps skeptically. During a time-boxed pilot, record false positive rates, time to first useful detection, and the number of cases where enrichment saved material analyst time. Track freshness by measuring how quickly the feed reflected a widely reported campaign relative to free sources. Note sector relevance by counting items that directly matched your peers' traffic or case patterns. Wrap up by comparing outcomes across pilots, keeping the provider that measurably improved speed, precision, or prevention for your environment. Sharing and governance give intelligence programs scale while respecting safety boundaries for everyone involved. The Traffic Light Protocol, TLP, labels who may further share a report, which avoids accidental leaks that could harm victims or ongoing investigations. Information Sharing and Analysis Centers, ISACs, and Information Sharing and Analysis Organizations, ISAOs, let peers exchange observations that would be hard to collect alone. Clear legal and privacy boundaries should govern collection and use, especially around personal data, credentials, and monitoring outside owned assets. Written rules of engagement protect employees and partners by defining which sources are permitted and which are out of bounds. Good governance makes collaboration possible without introducing new risks that overshadow the benefits. Measuring value keeps a CTI program honest and steadily improving across different team sizes. Small teams can track prevented incidents, faster triage times, and dwell time reductions linked to specific intelligence-driven detections. Larger teams can add decision quality reviews, where leaders check whether intelligence shaped priority calls that stood up under scrutiny. Both can examine the percentage of high-confidence alerts that resulted in real action, and the percentage of playbooks that were retired or added because of new insights. Maturity grows when these metrics inform budget, scope, and training choices rather than sitting in reports. A program that measures outcomes invites trust and earns its place in the security workflow. Intelligence is a decision aid rather than a magic list, and its power comes from disciplined questions and timely actions. The cycle moves from requirements to collection through processing and analysis and onward to dissemination and feedback that restart learning. Balanced sources, behavior-focused models, and structured formats keep meaning intact as it flows to tools and people. Practical integrations show value through tuned detections, faster investigations, and smarter patching choices. With those habits, teams steadily reduce uncertainty and turn scattered signals into clear, defensible decisions that stand when it matters most. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.